Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like something was off, but you couldn't explain why? Like someone asked you a simple question, but deep down, you knew it wasn't innocent. It wasn't curiosity, it was control. This video is for you, because not all lies come wrapped in words. Some come in the form of questions. Questions that twist your logic, challenge your boundaries, and make you doubt your own senses. And if you've ever been made to feel too emotional, too suspicious, or too much, you may have already been targeted by them. But once you know what to look for, everything changes. Today we're exposing 5 psychological traps, disguised as questions, that manipulators use to confuse, shame, and disarm you. And more importantly, I'll show you how to respond, not with rage, but with clarity. The same mental clarity the Stoics trained for, in a world designed to break your mind. If you're tired of being caught off guard, stay with me. This video might just flip the power back in your hands. And if you find value here, don't forget to subscribe. Stoic spirit is just getting started. Question 1. Would I ever lie to you? You've probably heard it before, maybe from a friend, a partner, a boss. They lean in, tilt their head, raise an eyebrow, and say it with just the right touch of wounded pride. Would I ever lie to you? Sounds harmless, right? Almost sweet. Like they're hurt that you'd even think such a thing. But take a breath. Pause. Because this isn't a question, it's a performance. And underneath that soft delivery, there's a trap. The truth is, no honest person needs to say this. A person who's trustworthy proves it through action, through consistency, through integrity, that doesn't need to be defended. But when someone asks this question, especially when you're starting to catch inconsistencies, starting to connect the dots, they're not reassuring you. They're silencing you. They're trying to make you feel guilty for noticing. It's emotional judo. Suddenly you're the one on the defensive. You're the one being unfair. You're the one hurting them. Just for thinking critically. And that's exactly the point. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." A wise person welcomes doubt. A liar fears it, because truth stands up to scrutiny. Lies demand blind trust. When someone looks you in the eye and says, "Would I ever lie to you?" they're not looking for conversation. They're looking for submission. It's not about connection, it's about control. And here's the dangerous part. If you answer emotionally, "Of course not, I trust you," you've just given them a pass. You've handed them your blind spot. You've told them, "You can now lie to me and I'll question myself before I ever question you." That's all a manipulator needs. The Stoics taught us to be vigilant, not paranoid, but aware. To stay grounded in what's real, not what's dramatized. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that includes the imagined innocence of people who play the victim just to avoid accountability. So the next time you hear that line, "Would I ever lie to you?" don't panic. Don't rush to reassure. Don't get pulled into the performance. Instead, respond with calm precision. Look them in the eye and say, "That's not the real question. The real question is, would I know if you did?" That flips the dynamic. Now you are the one in control. You've brought the conversation back to clarity, back to reality, back to truth. The very thing Stoicism teaches us to stay rooted in, no matter how others try to twist it. Remember, liars thrive in fog, but your awareness is the floodlight. Your calmness is the weapon. Your refusal to be guilt-tripped is your shield. And if they stutter, change the subject, or get angry, good, that's confirmation. The truth doesn't flinch when questioned, but deception always does. So don't get caught in the velvet trap. Don't let sweetness override your instinct. Stoicism isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Clear enough to see what's real, and brave enough to face it without blinking. Because the one who sees clearly can never be controlled. Question 2. Why are you being so sensitive? Michael's had a long day. He's in a meeting with his team, sitting across from someone who's constantly interrupted him for weeks. Finally, Michael decides to speak up. Calmly, he says, "I felt dismissed during the last project. I was cut off multiple times, and it made it hard to contribute." He's not angry, not emotional, just honest. And then it happens. That smirk, that chuckle that's more dismissive than amused. And the words, "Geez, why are you being so sensitive?" Right there, everything flips. Michael was standing up for himself, but suddenly he feels like he's overreacting. He wonders, was I too direct? Did I read too much into it? Maybe I shouldn't have said anything? That moment right there, that's how emotional manipulation begins, and it often starts with a sentence that sounds like a question, but is really an accusation. Because when someone says, "Why are you being so sensitive?" they're not trying to understand you. They're trying to shame you into silence. This is what gaslighting looks like in its most subtle, everyday form. It's not someone yelling in your face, it's someone twisting the narrative just enough to make you second-guess your own experience. And here's the dangerous part. It often works, not because people like Michael are weak, but because they care. They want to be fair. They want to assume good intent. They want peace, not conflict. But the Stoics warned us, naivety isn't virtue, clarity is. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what this question manipulates. Your imagination. The liar doesn't need to attack you, they just need to make you feel uncertain. Suddenly your discomfort becomes the issue, not their disrespect. Your awareness becomes the flaw, not their behavior. But here's the truth, and it's one the Stoics knew well. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. In a world where people are often numb, distracted, or too afraid to speak up, the person who notices, who feels, becomes a threat. Why? Because they see the cracks before they shatter. And once you see clearly, you become harder to manipulate. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for it is the truth I seek." That's the Stoic mindset. Seek truth, even when it's uncomfortable. But don't let someone weaponize that mindset to make you doubt what you know you saw, heard, or felt. So what should you do when someone drops that line on you? First, pause. Don't react emotionally. That's what they want. Stay calm. Stay anchored. Then respond with precision. "I'm not being sensitive. I'm being observant. Are you uncomfortable with that?" Watch how quickly the mask slips. People who play games don't expect clarity. They expect guilt, silence, hesitation. But Stoicism teaches us to move with clarity, not fear. The Stoics weren't cold. They were composed. They didn't suppress emotion. They refined it. They didn't deny conflict. They walked through it with calm dignity. So the next time someone throws that line at you, "Why are you being so sensitive?" remember this. It's not a reflection of your flaw. It's a reaction to your strength. Because the world often punishes awareness, and those who benefit from your silence will always try to convince you your voice is too loud. Don't believe them. If this helped you see things more clearly, consider subscribing. Stoic Spirit is here to keep your mind sharp and your boundaries unshakable. Question 3. You trust me, right? David's been working hard on a group project at the office. The deadlines close, stress is high, and things need to run smoothly. But he's noticed something. One of his teammates, Jake, keeps cutting corners, skipping steps, ignoring procedures they all agreed on. It's not just sloppy, it's deliberate. David stays quiet at first, gives the benefit of the doubt. But after a while, the pattern's too obvious to ignore. So he brings it up, calmly, professionally, during a private check-in. He lays it out, what he's seen, how it's affecting the team. He doesn't accuse, just observes. And Jake doesn't explain. He doesn't apologize. Instead, he leans back, gives a half smile, and drops the line, "You trust me, right?" It's subtle, polite on the surface, but David feels it immediately. That quiet pressure to nod and move on. That moment where logic and gut instinct clash. Because here's the thing, that question isn't really a question. It's a warning. It doesn't invite trust, it demands it. And the second David says, "Yeah, of course I do," he's no longer talking about the issue. He's surrendering his judgment. "You trust me, right?" Sounds friendly, harmless even, but it's one of the oldest manipulation tactics in the book. Because it flips the focus. It's no longer about the person being questioned. It becomes about you, your loyalty, your ability to stay silent, your willingness to ignore your own instincts. It's emotional blackmail wrapped in sweetness. The Stoics warned us about this kind of trap. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And that's exactly what this kind of person does. They shut down your curiosity. They don't want you to look deeper. They don't want you to ask for proof. They want you to choose loyalty over truth. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. The wise man seeks clarity, not comfort. He doesn't rush to conclusions. He observes. He questions. He's willing to stand in uncertainty rather than fake certainty just to appease others. In that moment, David had a choice. He could default to politeness, say yes, and betray his own eyes, or he could pause, reflect, and anchor himself in what he knows to be true. Because trust, real trust, is never demanded. It's earned, consistently, over time, with integrity. Anyone who tries to shortcut that process with a question like, "You trust me, right?" isn't asking you to believe in them. They're asking you to shut off your critical thinking, to ignore your observations, to hand over your discernment without conditions. That's not a request. That's control. So how do you respond? You don't panic. You don't get defensive. You don't apologize for noticing what you noticed. You apply what the Stoics called apatheia, calm detachment. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop reacting. And then you respond with something like, "Trust is earned through consistency. Are you asking me to ignore my own judgment?" That sentence changes everything. It puts the weight back where it belongs, on them. Not on you to blindly follow, but on them to demonstrate integrity. And if they stutter, deflect, or get irritated, that's your answer. Remember, trust isn't a weapon. It's not leverage. It's a bond built on truth, not guilt. So the next time someone hits you with, "You trust me, right?" take a breath, look at the facts. And if something doesn't feel right, let your silence speak louder than their performance. Because as the Stoics taught, it's not who talks loudest that wins. It's who sees most clearly. Question 4. Are you accusing me of something? You ask a simple question. You're calm, not confrontational, just curious. But instead of an answer, the other person tightens their voice, lifts their eyebrows, and shoots back. Are you accusing me of something? And just like that, the energy in the room shifts. You're no longer the one asking for clarity. Now you're the one under fire. That's not a coincidence. That's not miscommunication. That's a move. When someone responds with, "Are you accusing me?" what they're really doing is flipping the script. It's one of the oldest manipulation tactics. They shift the spotlight off of their behavior and onto your intention. They stop being the subject of the question and start playing the victim. Suddenly you're defending your tone. You're explaining that you didn't mean it that way. You're apologizing for simply noticing something that didn't feel right. Let's look at a real-world example. Samantha's been dating Tom for a few months. Lately, Tom's been acting distant, replying to texts late, avoiding direct answers, and canceling plans last minute. So one night, Samantha says gently, "Hey, I just feel like something's changed. Is everything okay?" And Tom instantly responds, "What? Are you accusing me of something?" Now Samantha is stuck. She wasn't accusing him. She was expressing a concern, but now she feels like she crossed a line. And that feeling, that subtle shame for simply speaking up, is exactly what the manipulator wants. Because here's the truth. This question isn't about honesty, it's about control. It's designed to stop the conversation cold, to make you doubt yourself, to shift the power back in their favor. The Stoics warned us about this kind of emotional sleight of hand. Epictetus taught that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When someone twists your intention, what they're really doing is distorting your opinion of yourself, making you feel irrational, petty, or unfair, even when you were just trying to understand. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to always return to what is actually happening, not how it's being framed. Because when you give up clarity for comfort, you trade truth for peace. And that's never a wise bargain. So what do you do when someone hits you with, "Are you accusing me of something?" First, pause. That moment right after they ask is crucial. Most people panic and rush to clarify, backpedal, soften their stance. But the Stoic doesn't react. The Stoic observes. Second, stay grounded in your truth. If you had reason to ask, don't feel guilty for it. Curiosity is not aggression. Awareness is not accusation. Then respond with precision. Say something like, "I'm asking a question based on what I've noticed. If there's nothing to hide, then this shouldn't be a problem." It's calm. It's fair. And most importantly, it keeps the weight of responsibility where it belongs, on their actions, not your feelings. Because here's the brutal truth. If someone's first instinct is to deflect instead of clarify, If their goal is to make you question your tone instead of owning theirs, that says more than any answer ever could. The Stoics didn't chase emotional safety. They pursued mental clarity. They trained their minds to spot false logic, emotional games, and manipulation disguised as innocence. So the next time someone asks, "Are you accusing me?" don't flinch. Don't fold. Don't apologize for seeking the truth. Just stay calm. Stay still. And ask yourself, would a trustworthy person be this defensive about being questioned? Chances are your instincts already know the answer. Question 5. Can't we just move on from this? You finally confront them. Not with anger, not with accusations, just facts. Calm words, a steady tone. You've taken your time, thought it through, and now you're asking for accountability. And just when the conversation starts to get uncomfortable, just when the truth feels 1 inch away from the surface, they sigh, look at you like you're the one making things worse, and say, "Can't we just move on from this?" It sounds reasonable, even peaceful. But it's not. It's the final move in the manipulation playbook, the emotional escape hatch. Because make no mistake, that question isn't about healing, it's about avoiding responsibility. Let's break it down. When someone says, "Can't we just move on?" what they often mean is, "I don't want to explain. I don't want to answer for what I did. I want the benefit of resolution without the burden of truth." It's emotional fatigue used as a weapon. Here's a real-life example. Jason's been dating Emily for over a year. Things have felt off lately. Late-night messages, vague stories, subtle lies. One evening, Jason gently asks Emily if there's something going on. He's not yelling, he's not blaming, just asking. Emily shrugs and says, "Can't we just move on from this? I'm tired of going in circles." Jason pauses, because the conversation just flipped. He came seeking clarity. Now he's being guilt-tripped for not letting go fast enough. That's the game. They don't win by proving their point. They win by wearing you down, by making you feel like the problem for refusing to drop it. The Stoics had a name for this tactic, even if they never called it that. It's moral laziness disguised as resolution. And Marcus Aurelius saw it coming centuries ago. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." A simple rule, but one that makes a liar squirm. Because when truth is at stake, timing is irrelevant. There's no expiration date on integrity, no deadline for clarity. The person who rushes you to move on isn't offering peace, they're offering silence. And Stoicism teaches us that peace built on denial is no peace at all. The Stoic response? Refuse to be rushed. Refuse to move on just to keep the other person comfortable. Because comfort without truth isn't healing, it's surrender. So what should you do? First, stay calm. This isn't about drama, it's about discipline. Then say something like, "I'm not here to punish you. I just want to understand what actually happened. That's when I'll be able to move forward, not before." It's not aggressive, it's not emotional. It's simply anchored in truth over tension. And if they get frustrated or walk away, let them. Because walking away from accountability is not your fault, it's their choice. The Stoics didn't seek comfort, they sought clarity. They knew the world would constantly tempt them to look away, to let things slide, to settle for the appearance of peace instead of the real thing. But real peace, the kind worth having, doesn't come from pretending things didn't happen. It comes from facing what did happen and choosing to stand tall in its light. So the next time someone sighs and says, "Can't we just move on from this?" don't answer right away. Don't apologize for wanting the truth. Don't shrink for needing answers. Just breathe. Look them in the eye. And remember what the Stoics already knew. Moving on without understanding isn't strength, it's surrender. And you weren't made to surrender. Now you see the game for what it is. The liar doesn't always shout, sometimes they whisper. They hide behind innocent-sounding questions. "Why are you so sensitive? You trust me, right? Are you accusing me? Would I ever lie to you? Can't we just move on?" But today, you didn't just learn to recognize these traps. You learned how to stay calm, see clearly, and hold your ground. That's not just emotional control. That's philosophical power. That's what the Stoics trained for. And now, you're training too. If this video helped you take back your clarity, subscribe to Stoic Spirit. We make content that sharpens your mind, protects your peace, and gives you the tools to face the world with strength. And don't leave yet. Powerful lessons await in the next video on your screen. Watch it now.